Good evening and welcome to our weekly question and answer series for Anash.org. Question. I'm trying to figure out what to do with all the Mishloach Munus food we don't need or is simply unhealthy junk food. So my question is about Baltashchis. How do you go about it? The solution to this is you should give it for organization who gives it for poor people or for people who are willing to take it, or you should leave it, if it's like candies, etc., you should leave it to throw by a bewarfen. But food which is in good condition, it is usher to throw away because of the isser of Baltashchis. If you have any gain by taking a food and grinding it and doing something with it, that's one thing. Then you could do it even though it's not but you want it, you need it. You could take a piece of cake and make it for crumbs, cookies making crumbs, because that's the way how you want to use it. But food which is good and you don't want to eat it, you cannot throw it away. Therefore, when you have leftovers, especially challah from Shabbat, etc., you don't throw it away, you leave it to get rotten, and then you throw it away. Because putting it in a position that it should get spoiled, you are permitted. But you cannot do something b'yadayim with your hands and making baltashchas. So therefore, you should give it away for organizations which take all leftovers or all these kind of things. There are some organizations in every community. The same will also go now when we're starting to clean for Pesach. We find all kind of clothing and shoes which might be in a good condition. There is organizations which take all these things and give it for them, that poor people could have use out of it, or they sell it for non-Jews, and the organization has money to spend and to give for poor people. But good things you don't throw away because Baltashkas. Question. I'm traveling to my in-laws this Pesach. Do I have to do Bedikat chametz separately or together with my in-laws? This is a common question. Young couples sell their whole house, and since they sell their house, according to the chametz, you don't need to make Bedikat chametz, although it's not sold till in the morning of Yidalet. Some poskim say, since at night it's not sold, you still have to make Bedikat chametz, but other poskim say you don't need, and that's how the chametz paskens. So what do you do about Bedikat chametz? So some poskim, the Shlomo Zalman and Nichas Shlomo on Pesach, writes that if you are there before Lail Yidalet, before the night of Bedikat chametz, you should rent out a room from your in-laws or your parents, and then you could make Bedikat chametz in your room which you rented with the bracha. But Rav Osner and Shaivet Alayvi disagrees, and he says it's a haruma, it's not a real sale, it's not a real rent, and he's not excited with this kind of solution, and he said you shouldn't especially not make a bracha. So the real solution will be, according to the Alter Rebbe, that a person should buy some chametz and eat the chametz in that room which is dedicated specifically for him, that room, his room. So that's already his room, and he has chametz. And the Alter Rebbe writes in Siman Tuf Lamed Vov Siv Chof that if a person he moves in to a house with the other Yid, and there the balabais of that house, he makes Bedikat chametz. If you have chametz and you ate chametz in this house, the balabais, when he makes Bedikat chametz, is also making your room b'shlichoschu, b'shlichas, and it's as if you yourself made bir chametz. So according to this, the best solution would be you should be there in their house. You could rent it out, so you have the solution of Reb Shlomo Zalman. You have also chametz, which you ate in that apartment. So basically, if you ate in that apartment, it's your chametz. So even if you are going to make bedikat chametz, you will be able to make a bracha. But the best thing will be if you hear the bracha from your in-laws or your parents, and then you make bedikat chametz in your room. In this case, you are makam the mitzvah of bedikat chametz, the mitzvah of Chazal to make bedikat chametz, since the chametz is yours, and also you rent it out. According to the Alter Rebbe, you don't need to rent it out, but at least you could also give something for your in-laws, so you also have the solution of the Alichas Shloima of renting it out. Question. Previously discussed buying whole fillet fish with the skin intact, and you could use it, since it has the skin intact, you use it all year round. Are there any additional requirements for Pesach? The answer is no. If it is fish which has a piece of skin intact, and you come home and you wash it very well, the raw fish, you could buy it even for Pesach, because it's not cooked food, and maximum he might have used a knife which was used through chametz, but since he cuts with a knife which is chametz, which is cold, there's no problem at all. And b'chlal, I don't believe that the fish department in a ShopRite or a Petmark or a Costco uses this knife for something else other than fish. So therefore, if you come home and you rinse it very well, you could use the fish also for Pesach. Just want to remind all the people which last year bought new Pesach kalim, dishes, utensils, and there was a lockdown and you couldn't toivel the kalim before Pesach. So we took all kind of solutions like selling it for a goy, etc. But now, since you have already the possibility to go and toivel all this kailam, so this year before Pesach you should make sure all the kailam which you didn't toivel last year, make sure it's clean, has no chatzitzas, and toivel it for Pesach. Question. Does fish have to be eaten on Yom Tov meals? The Gemara writes in Masechta Shabbos Daf Kif Yid Ches regarding Shabbos. You have to make Oinik Shabbos. How do you make Oinik Shabbos? Through fish. And the reason why fish, so the Alter Rebbe writes, because that was the fancy macholam which was in that time eaten. So therefore the Magen Avraham Simon Reishmem Bais writes that it is kol echad lefi tivoy. That means everything has to do with his nature. If he doesn't like fish, he shouldn't eat it. He does not need to eat fish. It's interesting to know the Alter Rebbe changes the lashon, the language, and he says every place according to his meaning what it is considered choshev food. So it doesn't go according to his teva. That means if you don't like food, etc. It goes every place what it is considered to being a fancy meal. So according to the Alter Rebbe, it is mashma that since fish today's day in every fancy meal there is fish, and therefore there is an Indian of Oinik Shabbos, it should be fish. So even if you might like other kind of foods, it is an Indian that you should eat fish for Shabbos. It's interesting to note that according to Kabbalah, which the Magen Avraham brings down at the Kina Shabbos, that you should eat fish in all three meals. So we see it is especially a big thing to eat fish on Shabbos. We know the Baal Shem Tov moved to Bezhebish because there was over there a pond, there was over there a water that had fish, and he wanted to have fish l'koved Shabbos. Also, the Leked Yosher, which was a Talmud of the Trimas Adesher, writes that he also was makpeh to eat fish because he had a tama pikabola, and he brings down that the Marik says that dag is begematria 7, a dalet and a gimel is begematria 7, and that is, it shows on Shabbos, which is also the 7th day. So, answer your question, yes, there's an inyan, you should eat Shabbos and Yom Tov fish. Now, the question goes on, can one serve parva milchige meals on Shabbos and Yom Tov if they desire? We mentioned already before, there's an inyan to eat fish. Yom Tov, there's an inyan, special inyan to eat even meat. The Alter Rebbe writes, although today's day we don't have shlumim, so therefore it's not a chiyuv to eat meat, but there's a mitzvah to eat meat. And that's we're talking about meat. Yom Tov. Shabbos is also, you don't make a milchige seuda, you don't make a parva seuda. Shabbos and Yom Tov, you make a seuda with basa v'dogim, and that's meaning of Klal Yisrael, and you don't change this minig just because you want to eat parva for Yom Tov or for Shabbos. Question. I am after having a baby and not fully bekoich. What is the priorities to clean for Pesach? So let me set it straight. According to our minig Chabad, that we sell for the goy even real chametz, as we see that the Tzemach Tzedek used to sell real chametz, the Rebbe Nishmus Eid, the Rebbe Rashab, in his Shtar Mechiras Chametz, we see he sold chametz. So our minig is that you sell chametz gomer, real chametz, and this was also the minig by other Chassidish Rebbes like Yerapshis, Yitzans, Reb Tzudei Koim and Lublin, and other places. But some people do not sell chametz gomer, but I'm going to talk to according to our minig that we sell chametz gomer. So any place which you are going to sell, you don't have to make at all. That means if you have a Pesach kitchen and you're going to lock up your chametz kitchen, you don't need to do anything in that kitchen. You don't need to clean it, you don't have to sweep it, you don't have to burn out the oven. You just lock it, you write on top of it, it's sold for the goy, and you don't need to do anything. The same will go any closets in your whole house, which is stuff which you're not going to use on Pesach, just sell it. If it's clothing, if it's toys, whatever it should be, just close it, lock it, right on top of it, it's sold for a goy, and you don't need to do anything to clean it. The same will go to the oven, since you have a Pesach oven. That's whatever you sell. And that is also clothing. You can take all the clothing of your children, which you're not going to use, you're not going to use on Pesach, you sell it, and you only clean the stuff which you are going to use on Pesach. Now, the same will go with toys, the same will go with books, anything which came during the year in contact with chametz, you should just sell for the goy, since you don't need it, and you're done. Now, other things which you don't sell. Now, first of all, rooms which you don't, it's not a place which you bring your chametz. For instance, you have an attic, or you have a boiler room, or whatever room you have, you don't need to clean it, because you don't put in chametz, you don't carry chametz into that room. When it comes to cleaning, if you don't have, let's say, a Pesach koch, a Pesach kitchen, so this you have to make well. Anything which comes in contact with food during Pesach, you have to clean very well, because even one tiny drop of chametz, if you're going to eat it, you're over a iser. Chametz b'Pesach is b'mashi, even a tiny drop. So therefore, when it comes to the kitchen, the refrigerator, which you're going to use food over there, the freezer, which you're going to use food over there, the cabinets which you're going to put in stuff for Pesach, you have to clean very well. When it comes to not places which you have chametz. That means bedrooms, which you don't eat over there, but you still have to make it. You have small children, you might there might be chametz over there, so therefore you make it. But basically you do it, you clean it. You don't need to take out chametz which is in the cracks of the parquet, which is in the beneath the stove or the refrigerator. If you're not going to take out, and you're not used to taking out the refrigerator or the stove all year round, you don't have to take out the refrigerator and the stove to check and clean over there for chametz. You clean as much as your hand could go in, and once you clean it till as much as your hand can go in, you don't have to do more than that. Now if you're going to take it out to clean it back in the refrigerator, back of the stove, then you'll have to have a chiyuv already to make bedikas chametz, because it is already a thing which you took out. But if you didn't take it out and you don't plan to take it out and you don't taking it out, it is as if chametz nafrul of mapoilus, which something fell out on top of chametz, or you have chametz beboyer. You don't need to take it out. You only clean as much as you could put your hands, and you're done. Now walls, we know the Rosh says the Torah brings it down. Yisrul kedoshim. That means Yisrul kedoshim means, although mitzad halacha we don't need to clean and wash walls, but Yisrul kedoshim, they do more than what they need to do. So therefore, some people will take ladders and wash the wall, the ceiling, the fixtures. Now that this is what the Rosh means. The Rosh means Yisrul kedoshim, only places which you eat during the year. That means your dining room, your dinette, your kitchen, and as tall, as high as you could touch, especially children could touch, that you wash. Anything which is above your hands, you don't need to wash at all. So the ceilings, the fixtures, the chandeliers, or anything, you don't need to wash at all. It does not go into the gather of Yisrul kedoshim either. Other rooms which there is not a place which you eat, although children might bring in chametz, you need to wash the walls at all. Only places which you eat. But places which you eat, you have to do very well. That means the tables and the chairs, in the back of the chairs, because over there something will fall down on Pesach and you're going to take it, pick it up and eat it. Therefore, you have to make it very well. You don't have to dismantle the chairs. You don't have to dismantle the tables. But you do as well as you could reach, and then you are fine. That's why there's a minig by a lot of Chassidish Yidden, any food which falls on the floor, you don't eat it. Why? Because although you swept the floor, you might have some tiny pieces, crumbs in the parquet or in the grooves of the floor. So it fell down on the floor, you're afraid maybe if you're going to eat it, you're going to put it into the mouth. But mitzad halucha, you don't have to take a toothpick and lie on the floor and take out all from all these grooves, since it's tiny pieces. And like the Alter Rebbe writes, peririm which doesn't have a kazayis, you're not mechiyev to make bedikas chametz, you're not mechiyev to clean it. Now if you find it, you see it, of course you should take it out. But go sitting on the floor or dismantling tables and chairs, you don't need to do. Same thing will go also radiators. You do the radiators as much as you possible, as much as your hand could get, and that's about it. You don't need to dismantle your whole house. You don't need to dismantle either the refrigerator. You do the refrigerator, although it's a thing which you have to do very well, because you're putting in over there food, but you do it as well as possible, and that's fine. Now if you still see crumbs in the parquet, although up halacha you don't need to do anything, but some people will feel, I'm in a house, Pesach, you could see crumbs, although you cannot get to that. Just put on top of it any detergent, bleach, or any sharp detergent which makes it pogrom, and you're good to go. So therefore we have to know what we need to do. Anything which will come in contact with food, you have to make sure to clean. Anything which does not have to have contact with food, you have to make sure there isn't peririm, which is a gzais, or even less than a gzais, but it's a pirer, a piece of chametz which a person will eat. It doesn't get dirty, or it's a chashivas. That means a small piece of pretzel, a tiny pretzel, or a Cheerios. These things you gotta clean up. But tiny crumbs of bread, and you have it in cracks, you don't have to turn over the whole house in order to clean it. When it comes to toys, it is kedai that anything which you're not going to use a Pesach, sell it, and the toys which you are not going to sell, you want the children to play, you should soak it in water which has bleach and wash it, because this children might put in over there, they play while they'll eat, and you don't want it should be any chametz while they're playing on Pesach, and they'll take it in their mouth. So that's basically what you need to do. Windows you don't need to wash. Silver you don't need to clean for Pesach. You gotta do what you gotta do. If you have more koyach, you want to do it as your father, your mother did, as your parents did, okay, we get more to the koyach. But if you are now after a baby, you do what you need to do, you know your priorities, and you don't need to do anything else. Just to mention, a person which has a porch before Pesach got to broom it, because it might over there be also some crumbs, and also to wash the garbage enclosure, especially if it has some kind of roof, which some houses do have, because then if there's chametz, it doesn't get dirty through rain, etc. So you got to make sure there isn't over there chametz which you could be able to come to eat. One final thing, a person which has a car has to be cleaned very well, because in a car usually they eat, and there's all kind of crumbs, all kind of pretzels, all kind of stuff. And if you're going to drive your car on Pesach, especially with your children, it's very easy that you should touch chametz and you might take it to your mouth. Finally, when it comes to svarim, a person which watches all year round not to eat by the svarim, basically he doesn't have to do anything when it comes Pesach. But a person which eats in the middle of his learning and is not makbeh to watch, no crumbs should come on chametz, he should pick the svarim which he will need for Pesach, and that he should clean well, because it might be peririm, and he might touch the finger a page and put it to his mouth. So therefore he should clean it, and all other the svarim which he used during the year he should sell for a goy. This is basically in a nutshell what you need to do for Pesach. And a person which is not bekoyach, or is under after a baby or after COVID, etc., does not need to do more than that. A person which is bekoyach and he can clean better and he wants to do like his mother, like his father, like his parents, tuvu olav brucha. But according to halacha, you don't need to do more what we just mentioned. Okay, we're going to stop here and join us next week again, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, and send in all your questions, especially Pesach questions, to inbox@Anash.org, and we will try to address it the coming week. Good night, and have a wonderful week, and have an easy cleaning for Pesach with relaxing. The house should be relaxed, because you don't want that your children should grow up and remember that before Pesach it is a time which is pressure, and they should regret all their lives the days between Pesach, Purim and Pesach. Good night.